Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 12 of Free to Be. I am, as always, loving being here and excited to be able to grow. I think part of being a teacher is really the selfish desire to grow. I know that every time I do a class with you, it fortifies my own beliefs about where I need to go. It further aligns me and it clarifies my own commitment to this path of growth. So thank you for allowing me to do the work with you. So what I want to talk about today is, all this while I've been telling you that we're afraid to be free, but I hope you've also understood that freedom is in our grasp. Freedom is our birthright. Freedom is in our clasp. It's right here. You just don't see it. It's right here. You don't believe it. It's right here. You don't claim it. So freedom is yours. You are born free. You can die free. You can live free. Freedom is in your hands. It's yours. It's your right. It's like saying, can I breathe in this air? The air is yours. Do you ever say, oh, I've had too much air today? I've taken up too much space in terms of my oxygen content and I should stop breathing? No, you breathe because you believe it's your right. So freedom as a concept is your right. And unless you claim it as the most natural and effortless process like your breath, you will be a stranger to it. So how do you claim it, right? Well, the first thing to understand is how you lost it. And I've said this many, many times, but I want to say it again because it's the most important thing for you to understand. You lost it within the first 7 to 10 years of your life. I say 10, but really it's 7. And this is the window. And if you screwed it up with your kids, don't worry. It is what it is. It's their co-creation as well. So in the first 7 years of your life, you were porous, you were absorbent, you were extremely sensitive, you were ripe for the making and the taking and the baking and the cooking. And you were programmed, you were seduced, you were indoctrinated. You were sent to, a school called the Earth School, where these people around you did what they did unconsciously in a state of slumber and somnolence and ignorance, and they hypnotized you to their ways, and you were fully programmed. And unless you see how all of us are zombies, are programmed, are automatons, are enslaved to our thinking, to our beliefs, to our ways that we do things, to norms and mores, if you don't see how rabidly patented we all are, we're all patented, with the Earth School patent. And some patents are more deeply ingrained in the skin and some are more superficial, some are yellow, some are fluorescent. It doesn't matter. The fact is we're carrying a patent of what it means to be a human being according to the prescriptions of others. And the key of this indoctrination, the key, the way it works is based on enslavement. It is predicated on fear, and its mechanism, its mechanics are based in enslavement. There is an invisible rope and you are tethered to it, and you fully have believed that this is the way to live. So freedom was your birthright. However, through the programming of the first 7 years, you were brainwashed and completely zombified to believe that you are a minion. You must follow the ways. And so you have, in some way or the other, even if you're the greatest rebel with blue streaks of hair on your, your armpits are streaked with blue, and you think you're so avant-garde and so free, you are still working within the matrix, within the bubble, within the culture, and you are still enslaved and blinded by the ways of your upbringing. So you have to fully accept this, and you have to see it everywhere around you. Otherwise, you will never reclaim your freedom. You have to see how you have set yourself up in a cage, And the way to awaken is to do the inner work, right? We always say do the work. What is the inner work really? It begins by owning, by saying, I accept, and getting out of the denial. The fog of denial needs to lift where you go, it's me. I am the cause and co-creator of my own suffering. Nobody has made me suffer. I now am the co-creator. The initial creator may have been somebody in my childhood or my grandmother or my uncle's sister. It doesn't matter. Right now, right here, I am the active co-creator, although unconscious. So the path to awaken is a very defined path. First step is accept, which means no more denial, which means owning, claiming the isness. I am an addict. I am dependent. I am fear-based. I am really only 5 years old emotionally. Whatever you are, own it. Who you are materially, I am enslaved to success. I am enslaved to my beauty. I am enslaved to what people think of me. I am enslaved to others' validations on the material level. On the psychological level, I am emotionally only 5 years old. I am terrified to make decisions on my own. I am extremely enmeshed and codependent. Who you are psychologically. On the spiritual level, I do not have a spiritual practice. I'm afraid to be alone. I don't know what it means to be quiet. I cannot sit still. And then who you are transcendently is, I don't know how to let go of my fears. I don't know how to let go of myself, right? The material world is all about you in this material world, you and your attachments to your things and your relationships. The material self is defined as I am of my things. I am of my roles. I am of my relationships. In the psychological realm, it's about your emotional maturity, about your capacity to be an adult, about your inner child's healing. So the self in the psychological realm says things like, I am unworthy, I am enmeshed, I am dependent, I am of lack. In the spiritual realm, as you progress, you begin to realize that you are interdependent, that you are a co-creator, that you are one with the other. So you begin to realize, oh, we are all interconnected. So the self on the spiritual realm says, I am us, I am we. There is no I, there is a we. And then on the transcendent level, you realize that all the selves are illusions. There is no I, there is no we, there is no self. So accepting the isness of wherever you are will then allow you to go through the next step, which is understanding you are a co-creator. You are a co-creator. And fully grasping this will allow you to progress and to understand that you need to leave the realms of the material and leave the realms of the psychological and enter the true essence of who it is you are, which is beyond your possessions, beyond your roles, and beyond your attachments. Now, right now, I want to focus on the psychological layer of our relationships and give you some tools and strategies to truly examine where you are relationally and how to be free to be in a relationship. The I in the context of the we. And this is on the psychological realm, yeah, which assumes that you are working through your inner child issues. If you're already on the transcendent level, you've already worked through your issues. But for the most of us, we're still stuck on the material and the psychological level. We're working through the inner child issues. So when you realize that you are a co-creator, when you realize that actually the freedom that you long for needs to be reclaimed by you now that you're an adult. In fact, this whole earth dimension is set up to have a taste of it in a pre-uterus, pre-subconscious, pre-essence level before the form, then to enter form and to begin to lose freedom, to become encaged in fear. And then few of us who awaken when we are adults realize that now is the time to reclaim the freedom. And those of us who awaken realize, oh, the freedom is nowhere, it's here. I just have to undo and release. But here comes the fear, because we've been so programmed, we don't want to undo and release. That's when you realize, wow, I can undo and release. All it takes is some undoing and releasing and some shedding of tears and letting go. But I don't want to, because my programming is so ingrained that it tells me if I do release, if I do let go, if I do transform, then the penalty will be too high. The only reason as an adult we do not claim freedom is because it clashes with our programming. Anything you desire in your life within your reach, within your biological innate reach, right? I can't say I want to be 6 feet tall. Anything within your biological reach, within the capacity that you have, that you desire, your happiness, your sexual satisfaction, your creativity, your flow, your passion, your mission, your purpose, any word you want to use that is something you covet, is only not in your hand right now because it clashes with your programming. Every time you want it, you need to do certain things, and immediately then those things clash with your programming. And your programming tells you, don't do it. Sit where you are. The penalty is too high. The consequence is too risky. Don't do it. So the reason why you're not here right now, in this moment, fully empowered, fully grown up, fully autonomous, fully sovereign, trust me, it is within your reach, is only because there is a programming that tells you, shh, don't do it. What if the consequence tomorrow is too high? What if you're rejected? What if no one loves you anymore? What if you're alone for the rest of your life? What if your parents disapprove? What if society disapproves? There is always a voice, the programmed voice, that is stopping you, because the consequences for the self, I'll be too lonely, I'll be too scared, I'll be too afraid to be independent, I don't know how to be independent, I need other people. Or the programming from culture, what will people say? How will you survive in culture? How will you make money? What will tomorrow bring? All the things that culture has told you are clashing with your desire. You have a core desire, you have a core passion, a core vision, but the reason why you're not able to achieve it is because it clashes with your programming. What will your children do? What will your children say? How will your children survive? And I know for all mothers, the reason we don't actualize our fullest desire is because we have so much programming around being a mother. How can you go do that? That's selfish. How will your children survive? What will your children say tomorrow? What will your children need from you that you can't? Children. We are conditioned to live in lack around our children. So we are programmed, you see? So the reason you're not achieving what you want to achieve is not because of your husband, not because of your wife, not because of your boss. It is because it clashes with your programming. So when you want something and you're not getting it, it's not because the thing to get is too hard. It's because your programming tells you, don't do it. You are programmed to not do it. Josephina, you had an aha moment. Share with us what it is. She's writing it on the chat. So what is your programming? Every time I have stopped myself in life, it's because I had a programming. I had a programming around what it meant to be a woman, around how women should be, around what is my role as a healer, as a caretaker. I had programming around not asking for a lot of money for my sessions because I'm a healer. Healers don't ask for money. My programming told me. I had a lot of issues around setting boundaries in my intimate relationships. Why? Because my programming told me that, Shefali, you are meant to be a caregiver. You are meant to give without receiving. You are meant to say yes more than no. So I had issues with creating boundaries. I had issues running after my passion and embodying my mission. Why? Because my programming told me that that's not what girls should do. You shouldn't play so big. You should sit in the corner and be happy with what you've been given. And isn't it enough? Why are you so greedy? So every time I was stopped is not because it wasn't in my reach. Yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, I'd have to really be autonomous. Yes, I'd have to really be working hard and persevere and be dedicated and persistent. Yes. But everything was within my reach. The only thing that was stopping me was something in my programming. So I had to begin to deconstruct. Why is my programming in my way? What have I believed in with such a ferocity? Yes, programming is the same as belief systems, our attachments. Our programming creates belief systems, yes? And we are now attached to those belief systems. It could be around, you want to have an orgasm, and you don't allow yourself to have an orgasm, or you want to pleasure yourself and you don't pleasure yourself because you were programmed with now a belief system that says sex is shameful, for example. You want to charge $1,000 for a webinar. You don't do it because you're programmed, which now has created a belief system that says, you know, healers and social workers and givers don't take money, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You are literally living in a pen, in a small little animal's pen, the size of a little kennel, in terms of how, in proportion, that is to your endless, vast, eternal potential. The only reason we are not growing up and not seizing this life and doing what you need to do is because you're scared, right? The programming is based on fear. Something in your programming says, don't, you know? And we're scared, and we fall for it hook, line, and sinker. Mothers especially, because we are the caregivers of our children, so we're always afraid, well, what if my child doesn't survive? What if my child cannot handle it? What if my child doesn't thrive? What if my child resents me tomorrow, right? And we stop ourselves from going after the job or going after a new relationship or going after a career because we're afraid. And the reason we're afraid is not because it's true that our children will suffer. It's because we are afraid that they will suffer, and we're afraid that they won't be able to handle it, and we won't be able to handle it when they can't handle it. But the truth is that every time I have stepped into my power, and every time I have followed my aligned vision, not out of ego, out of alignment with my authentic truth, actually only more doors open. Only health supersedes. Only thriving is allowed. And yes, there's fear. And yes, there's uncertainty. And yes, there's great doubt and plaguing guilt. What did I do? Did I make the right decision? But let me tell you, at the end of the day, when you follow your power in an aligned fashion, all the fears that you thought would come true cannot come true, you see, because those fears that you have from an undeveloped place of lack are fears you have from an undeveloped place of lack. When you begin to follow your passion and your vision and your mission, now you are not in an undeveloped place of lack. You are now occupying a territory of empowered sovereignty. So when you occupy that place, now those fears don't come true, because those fears are the mirror and the resonance of the vibration of that state where you were in fear. So what I'm saying is, when you step into your aligned power with yourself and you say, I'm going to take responsibility for whatever occurs out of this alignment, because it matters more to be aligned than to be misaligned but have material comfort. I'm more willing to take a risk to be psychologically, emotionally, spiritually aligned and let go of the material comfort than to be with material comfort but misaligned. When you begin to state these things to the universe, when you begin to declare these things with your vibration, then automatically the vibration you exude is one of replenishment, one of abundance, one of verdancy, right? It's verdant. Now, your children, the one you were afraid for, your partners, your colleagues, whoever it was that you were afraid for, begin to bask in this new vibration. And because they're now basking in your new vibration, the whole game changes. Maybe you'll have new problems. It's not the end to problems, but the whole game changes, you see? So all our fears, which come from small self in the cage, the fears are vibrational resonances of that small space. So when you're in the small space and you dream of going to Japan to learn Japanese, in the small space you go, how can I go to Japan? How can I uproot my family? How can I leave my job? How can I expect my children to be stable? No, my children won't be stable. No, everyone will hate me. I will be lonely and I will be depressed, right? You're in your small state, visioning Japan, but you have obstructions because they are vibrational obstructions coming from the vibrational occupancy of this small space. You have to understand this because you believe this to be true, but it's not. It's a vibrational resonance of this energy. Now, when you do go to Japan, and you do begin to occupy your empowered sovereign space, all those fears simply cannot come true. The fear is only a resonance of that vibration. The fear is of the future, so it's never in truth anyway. It's only a vibrational echo that you believe in. But when you step into that space, all the fears that you had then simply will not come true because you are in a different energy. Now you're in Japan and now you've changed the game. Yes, more shit could hit the fan that you never even dreamt of there. That I'm not saying no to. The day you reach Japan, somebody could stub your toe and break your foot. Okay, right? But it's not that fear you had. You've changed the game. And as long as you begin to realize that true evolution is about changing the game, yes, you'll open yourself up to breaking your leg, stubbing your toe in an unimaginable way, but you've changed the game at least. Now you are adulting. Now you're living in the space of ownership, of autonomy, of occupying your sovereignty. You're not staying here waiting for daddy and mommy to give you every reassurance in the security blanket. You are now adulting and you're changing the game. Evolution means changing the game. And change can only occur when you change the game. The game has to change. The form has to change. Until the form changes, understand that you are co-creating your reality. There is no one more powerful than you in your life. Not your children, not your partner, not your boss, not your father. The only reason you are enslaved and enmeshed in a dependency is because you are programmed to remain infantile. You're programmed in those first 7 years to stay stuck there. So most of us in our 30s and 40s and 60s are stuck between 1 and 7 programming. Part of awakening, the part of awakening is unprogramming, deprogramming, and awakening to your full ownership of your life. When you fully own your life, yeah, shit could still hit the fan, but you have completely put yourself in an unfathomably unpredictable situation. Those fears don't exist anymore. New fears can come, but you've changed the game. You're in new fear territory. Isn't that amazing? Fear will always be there, but don't you want new fears? Aren't you tired of the same old fears? Aren't you exhausted with the same old bullshit, the same 5 people disapproving of you? I mean, change it up. Get another 5 people to disapprove of you. At least you've changed the game, right? How boring that the same 5 people are the 5 people you're waiting for. Make some other man abuse you. At least be novel, like different bed, different person. If you're going to be abused, how about you do it with a different culture this time? Change it up, right? How boring to live your whole life in the same cesspool. At least try different cesspools. Go to Europe and be in a dysfunctional relationship there. Go to China and find an abusive relationship there. Change it up is all I'm saying, right? Goldie, good idea. So, in my life, as an example, the only way I grew up is when I saw how childish I was and how plaintive, pleading, craving, dependent, whiny, sulky, tantrumy my inner child was. And it was only when I began to realize that the inner child is my child, nobody else's child. I got to step up and take care of this inner child. Yes, I got to do all the parenting that my parents didn't do. And guess what? They had their own inner child to parent because their parents didn't finish the job. And my daughter will have her own inner child to finish. This is the legacy of parenting. We share the unconsciousness generously. We don't hold it just within ourselves. We give it away freely. Take some unconsciousness. So when I realized that, oh, this inner child inside me is the one I need to parent, and I got to stop waiting for anyone else to parent the inner child. We'll just kill the mosquito in true Buddhist style. Only then did I truly become powerful in my being. But taking care of one's inner child is an unpleasant task on the surface. You know why? Because you have to speak the truth. You have to pay attention to body, mind, and soul. You can't lie. You can't fake it. You have to show up for yourself. These are very uncomfortable things to do. We have been so trained and indoctrinated to be princesses and just whine and complain. And when you begin to take care of your inner child, guess what? Can't even whine and complain anymore, because somebody is there to remind you within your tribunal of critics, you are the co-creator, right? When you realize you're the co-creator and you have it written all over your psyche, now you can't even complain in peace. You can't even bitch in peace. You can't gossip in peace. Bloody hell. Everywhere you look is the reminder, you are the co-creator. You are the co-creator. You are the co-creator. So boring, so annoying, right? You cannot get away from your own co-creation. That's why I'm saying taking care of your inner child and parenting your inner child is not pleasant. It is downright too mature. Like, who wants to be so mature? What, never be depressed again? Never be in addiction again? Never act out again? Never blame somebody else for all your troubles again? Never be a martyr? Never be a victim? What? Like, all the good stuff in life you have to let go? Adulting is not fun, and I do not recommend it. And guess what? Most people listen to me. They do not adult. Very few people adult because they understand this is too much work. It's so exhausting. Let's just make money and become complacent and eat some ice cream and donuts and call it a day. And then tomorrow, bitch, complain, moan, eat some more ice cream, some more donuts, and call it a day. And then just repeat. So much more easy to do that. Who wants to take responsibility? Who wants to talk to themselves, adult self to inner child? Who wants to look at, what did I do here? What is my responsibility here? How can I take care of my own needs? Who wants to do that? No one wants to do that. That's why no one does it. But all jokes aside, the only way I have achieved a modicum of eternal joy and great, delicious contentment and humor in life is when I began to take charge of my own bullshit and stop expecting people to come and clean it up for me. And yes, it was uncomfortable. And yes, it's a pain in the ass to always look at yourself and always look at yourself and always look at yourself. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. But after 5-10 years, yes, it takes 5-10 years. After 5-10 years, however, there is a glimmer of an adult. And that adult can take on the world. And that adult is done needing other people to validate her. And do you know what freedom that brings? So I strongly recommend that if you want to taste freedom in this life, you have to wake up out of denial and slumber. You have to look at your co-creation, and you have to start adulting. No more can you be an infant within the ages of 1 and 7. You have to unprogram, deprogram from infantilism into adulthood. Spiritual, psychological, emotional warriorship. You have to take on this life as if it is the only one in this incarnation, because guess what? It is the only one in this incarnation, in this way, in this moment. So what are you waiting for? I know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for the programming to change on the outside. And when the programming allows you and gives you permission, then you're like, okay, now I'll be programmed by the new program. You want the program on the outside to change and roll out the red carpet for you, because you don't want to be at odds with this programming and the outside programming, right? You don't want to clash. You're like, can everybody change on the outside? Then I'll change. But the truth about awakening is you will clash with the programming from the outside. And that's the uncomfortable part, right? Because all your fears come up. You want them. You need them. You're dependent on them. And that's how you've been raised. So now to say, I don't need you, I'm not dependent on you. If you're there, you're there. You're not there, you're not there, is an abomination. It is the greatest fear you have. So you have to realize that the only reason you're not achieving whatever it is you want to achieve, it doesn't matter on what level, your ideal weight, your fitness, your mission, your meaning, your purpose, your relationship, your joy, your sexuality, your power. The only reason is because there is a programming inside you that says don't. And the programming tells you, be afraid. And you've bought into it. Because when you were between 1 and 7, you bought into it. So you will only awaken when you are fully ready to own your co-creation. That means in the moment, typically creating a lot of boundaries, a lot of alone time, a lot of going against the grain, a lot of tuning within, asking what matters to me, to this soul, whatever you want to call it, on this moment in time, on this occasion, in this circumstance, what matters to this soul, and tuning in, and then tuning in, and then speaking up. And the speaking up doesn't have to be physical. I always tell people, you don't have to say a word, you have to just show up. Speak up meaning show up for yourself. And if that means to be silent and leave the room, that speaks more than 1,000 words. But you have to show up for you, because you are the owner, the sovereign ruler, the gatekeeper, the key holder of your own power. There is no relationship outside of you. All other relationships are mirrors of your relationship with your power. If you're in a relationship on the outside where you have no power, it's because you've been programmed to believe you don't need to have power. There is nothing that is happening in your life that isn't happening with your full-on co-participation, full-on co-creation. Now, there are things that can happen to our body. We can bang into a wall, somebody can push against us, we can bang into a wall, we can break our neck. And you say, how did I co-create this? And I always say there are two kinds of co-creation. One is random and one is non-random, appearing. The random appearing ones seem random. You were just walking on the street, a bus hit you. But the fact that you were on the street at that moment in time actually is not so random. That's the route you go to work every day. You're at a bank and there's a heist. Seems random, but is it really random? You always go to that bank. Do you understand? At the end of the day, nothing is random because you're there. So at the end of the day, it could appear random, but it's personal. And the non-random ones, which is you in every relationship which you are predicting or you're predictably appearing in, that's not random at all, and that's fully personal. So whether random appearing or non-random, you are a co-creator. And there is nobody outside of you that creates your inner reality. You are the creator of your inner reality. Even if you're with a battering husband or a battering wife or battering whatever, even if you're raped tomorrow, at the end of the day, this inner sanctum is yours. And you can activate the power to make this inner sanctum take shape any way you desire. Any way you desire. That is the amount of power that lies within you when you decide to use your power. All of us, most of us, are living ages 1 to 7. So imagine how little power we seize. How little power we seize. We don't seize any power. We are programmed. The reason we don't speak up or show up for ourselves is because we're afraid. We're afraid because our program tells us, don't do that. The consequences are too high. And that's okay when you abide, but then know you have abided. Because in this moment, it is easier to abide So know that you co-created the easy way out. That's okay. But own it. There is no abusive person on the outside. There is no abusive situation on the outside for a true adult. There is an abusive situation for a child, but there is not an abusive situation for an adult. An adult has choices to make. The choices are blasphemously uncomfortable because they're adult choices. Oh, we have to say no to the sixth cookie. Oh, we have to say no and walk away. Oh my goodness, we have to like maybe take a suitcase and leave this situation altogether. God, how inconvenient. Yes, adulting requires blasphemously uncomfortable choices to make, but the choices are clear. They're difficult, but they are clear. And if you're not taking the difficult, participating, owning the difficult choice, do not confuse that with there is no choice. There is always a choice. The choice is always clear. Now, own that you are not ready to make the choice. And you are making choice A versus choice B. There are always choices. And this is the uncomfortable, inconvenient truth of adulting. So to be free to be in a relationship means you have to fully grow up within yourself. And when you fully grow up and meet your needs, then there can be no one on the outside that doesn't meet your needs. You see, because if you're in a relationship right now that doesn't meet your inner child's needs, right? This person on the outside abuses the hell out of you. It doesn't matter who it is, right? They degrade you, they abuse you, they make you feel really small. Your inner child is going, what the hell, do something, right? And the fact that the adult self doesn't hear the inner child to do something and change the situation remains abusive because the adult self has abandoned the inner child within. The inner child is saying, what the hell? I don't like this. I'm crying every day. I feel degraded and demeaned every day. Help me. But there is nobody to help because there's no adult self, you see. So if there's no adult self to parent the inner child, all adults on the outside come and rape, pillage, murder, maraud, right? It's a free fall because there's nobody here. There's no gatekeeper. It's when you develop the gatekeeper, which means you have to grow up. You can't be between 1 and 7. You have to become 17, you have to be 27, 37, 47. You have to grow up and say, I'm taking care of my inner child. Oh, inner child, you don't like being here? You don't like how you're being treated? Okay, I'm going to take you out of the situation. So when you take care of your inner child, that's it. You've left the situation. There is no abuse anymore. Yes, but it may mean you have to leave that job. May mean you have to go from Detroit to Mississippi. Yes, may mean that you have to be on a bus ride for 6 days and wear a backpack on your shoulder because you've had to leave Detroit. Yes, you see, uncomfortable choices are part of evolution. We don't want to make those choices. We want to be between 1 and 7, children listening to a fairy tale, waiting for the prince to come and hand us our next step, right? And roll out the red carpet. So that's why we're all stuck in life, and that's why we're wasting energy waiting. Most of us are waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know. Waiting for someone to die, waiting for someone to help you, waiting for money to appear in your bank account, waiting for 10 pounds to drop off your body. What are we waiting for? There is no tomorrow. There is only right now. Right now. So if you're unhappy, change your situation. Yes, it will come with other unhappinesses. So that's where you have to decide. Which unhappiness is better? The one in the moment or the one in the next moment when I take on the next iteration? There will always be discomfort. There will always be new fears. But as I said, it'll be new. It'll be different. And who knows, right? If we never step into the potential for the unknown, how do we know that? We can't know it from place X. We can't know place Y from place X, but that's what we're all trying to do. Don't go to Y because from X, it looks really scary. Yes, from X, everything looks scary because X is fear. But don't claim to know why, right? Just say, you know what? I don't know why. I'm too scared, so I'm going to stay attached to X. But when you do go to Y, there will be new fears, but it will be completely unpredictable. You have no idea what's going to match you. How many of you here feel that your life in this moment right now could never have been anticipated by you, never predicted, never foretold, never imagined. I can say that about my life. Never, 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 never could I have imagined me in this moment in my life. Okay, so you already have iterated, you've already transformed, you've already evolved. So if you've done it one time and you're still alive and your children are relatively functional, even if they're in the psych ward, it's okay, they're functioning. Then why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid? We're afraid because of our programming. Our programming tells us this is a belief system that's true. You know, if you do X, then this one won't like you and your life depends on this one. If you do Y, you won't have enough money and your life depends on money. If you do Z, then that person is going to disapprove and you need that person's approval. So in every sort of way, it's our ages 1 to 7 programming that stops us. The way to deprogram is to start waking up to the reality of your situation and to seriously evaluate where you are and why you are where you are, and take ownership of your new place and your next new place, and understand that there will always be tedium, there will always be obstructions, there will be new fears, but it's time to have new fears. It's time to have new challenges. It's time to try something new. Say no to someone that you've always said yes to. Walk away when you've always walked in. Say 1,000 yeses when you've always hesitated. Try something new. It needs to be authentic. It's something that you've always wanted to do but never dared, right? So in my life, I always give myself new challenges. You know, I'll try a completely new way of exercising. I'll try a completely new way of doing a course or doing a book, or I'm always going, what's something new I can do, because I want to put myself in situations that grow me. I don't want to stay the same. Complacency is the death of creativity. Complacency and stagnation is simply the antithesis of evolution, right? I don't want predictability because I know life is not predictable. So whatever predictability I am creating is because I'm not changing. The only reason my life is predictable is because I'm staying very still, because I don't want anything to change, right? Because in essence, life is never predictable. Every day is a new day, right? But we take the same drive to work. We have the same hairstyle. We wear the same kind of clothes. We don't try new things, right? We don't move and shake according to our inner ways, our inner intuition. We don't check in with ourselves. Well, what do I feel like doing today? Now, I'm not saying that we all have the luxury, right? We all have to do work. I have to work every day. But I check in to see what fits me. Is this still serving me? Is this still who I am? Is this still my authentic self? And it doesn't mean I can change things right away, but I can begin to listen to my own inner child and begin to pay attention to this inner relationship that I'm having. I may not change a thing on the outside, but I'm going to develop a relationship with my inner child because I need to parent my inner child. And I need to become aligned with my inner child so that I am in mind, body, and spirit acting in a way that's aligned. So each day to ask, is this serving me? Is this authentic? Oh, I just lied to someone. What happened there? Why am I being inauthentic? I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? Oh, I'm afraid because, I don't want to lose that person. Who said you're going to lose that person? Oh, I've always believed that, I may lose that person. Okay, then why are you afraid to lose that person? Because, I'm afraid I'll be all alone. And when I'm alone, I'll be lonely and I'll be depressed. Who said that? Right? You begin to talk yourself as the advocate of probing, curious truth. Why? But why? But who said? Who says that? Where did that come from? And you begin to ask the questions that take you closer to your true self. But you have to be aware, and you have to probe, and you have to be alive, and you have to ask, right? Most of us have stopped asking. We just went from children programmed to adults programmed. No one is asking, Why, who, really? Is this me? Do I want this? Does this feel right? Why am I just following the way? Because it's just been laid out. It's just a program. Why am I not awake to this moment? And if this moment is true, right? So living in the moment means constantly watching the co-creation. Is this true for me? Is this really me? Is this how I want to be? Is this what I want to eat right now? Is my body really hungry? Where do I want to grow? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to flow? So living in the moment by moment, right, is where freedom lies. When you realize that the ground has always been unsteady, that there is no predictability ever. All the predictability was because you were clinging to a program. There was never any predictability. There was never any guarantee. There is no guarantee. Life is always going to be changing. It's just you who are not changing. Life is always changing. You're just clinging to the program. So any relationship you have that is holding you in a cage is being allowed to with your consent. Why? Because you're following a script, because you bought into a program. The only reason you are unhappy right now in any area of your life is because you have been programmed to be unhappy and you've bought into that program. And part of awakening is to debunk that program, is to unearth that program, is to release that program. And when you release it, you untether yourself. And when you untether yourself, you're just naturally unburdened. You are now floating a little bit. So whose responsibility is it to earn more money, to pay your own bills, to clean up your own house, to clean out the weeds in your garden? Yours. You can do it. You can do it all. You don't have to do it all, but if you need to do it all, you can do it all. The only reason you are not doing it all is because you have consented to the program. You want to be where you are. If you're unhappy, it's because you want to be there. You are a co-creator. And it's a harsh truth to wake up to, that you are a co-creator, but it is the only way to freedom, is to ruthlessly, brutally, cold-bloodedly look at your own participation in your own murder of self. Only when you accept that you are the jihadist, you are the terrorist, you are the murderer, you are the rapist of your own authentic self, your own capacity for sovereignty, your own joy, you will not be free. Because as long as you keep thinking it's on the outside, he, she, you're actually a slave to that person or that entity or that thing. As long as you keep believing that you need money, fame, power, validation, belonging, happiness on the outside, you are now tethering yourself. You're now weighting yourself and you're sinking in a bottomless lake. It's only when you see yourself as the greatest perpetrator toward yourself, when you see your own programming and your own buying into the program as your own wardenship. You are the warden. You are the prisoner. You are the sheriff. You are all the roles that you think others are, you are. And until you see that you are the murderer of your authentic spirit and power, you will actually be enslaved. There is nobody on the outside. I can only keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. The only way I have discovered the modicum of freedom and joy and great playfulness in my life is to see myself as the perpetrator. Because I'm the only perpetrator in my life. There is no perpetrator in my life, right? So if I am unhappy with X, but I don't leave the situation, the job, the relationship, the moment, the circumstance to go to Y, is because Y seems too scary because of my programming. So I scurry back to X, but I believe Y is the enemy, and then I believe X is the enemy. Guess what? Neither were the enemy. I went to Y, my programming told me that Y was too scary, stay with X. That is the enemy. So who is the enemy? Me believing in my own programming. So at the end of the day, there is no real reality. that is not co-created by you, right? The reality is that the reality is co-created by you. So unless you wake up and see how you are being, how you are showing up for yourself, do not look on the outside. Do not even dare to play victim for a second, because every moment you play victim, you've now given your blood supply, you've now given your chi, and you've given your energy. You think that you're getting empathy from people who are listening to you and commiserating with you, but you're actually giving away your vital energy. Once in a while, a good bitch session is warranted, but when it becomes a habit, when it becomes a way of living with everyone you meet, it becomes your energy with the world, then we are in trouble, right? Then you become your greatest enslaver, right? So you hold the key, as I say almost every time. Okay, everyone, that's the class for today. Thank you. Go own yourself, go own your power, and go change things up a little bit. Good night.